is to shed light on our invaluable contributions or on the invaluable contributions of the Ghana National Fire Service, the challenges encountered in our noble mission, and the unwavering commitment of our dedicated personnel to even do more to save more lives and preserve the environment. We want to welcome you behind the scenes to witness the bravery, dedication, and sacrifice of those who serve our communities selflessly. But this program isn't just about us, it's about you, the public. It is about forging a two-way conversation. We encourage and invite your questions, your curiosity, and your concerns. Fire Service in Focus is your opportunity to engage directly with us, to ask, to learn, and to understand. It is important to note that our collective journey commences today, a journey towards mutual understanding, appreciation, and a shared commitment to safety and their community well-being. So let us embark on this journey together, on this incredible endeavor where understanding breeds appreciation and knowledge fosters safety. On this note, we would like you to stick and stay with us. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, I will introduce my guest to the audience. Please stick and stay with us. Thank you. Welcome back to Fire Service in Focus series. You are welcome to this maiden edition. I'm glad this afternoon to introduce to you our guest, who is no other person than ACFO 1 Timothy Osafuafum, who will be helping us to understand the topic for today, which is management of distress calls at our emergency call center or fire master control. Many a times people wonder how calls are received and how dispatch is done. Today we are privileged to have the Director Public Relations in our midst to give us a showdown on the nitty-gritties as to how calls, emergency calls, are handled at our fire master control. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so sir, you have the platform now to let our audience understand. Many a times they blame us for not responding to their emergency calls on time and all that. I believe today presents itself the opportunity for us to educate them and to use the opportunity to throw more light on how calls are received in the first place, how dispatch is done, and then how our men respond to these calls by appearing at the emergency scene to do them help or to offer them the needed help. So, sir, now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I welcome all of you to join us on our maiden edition on this program. When there is an emergency, it is expected that the person having an emergency or a person close to him or her will call the Ghana National Fire Service. We have about 3 ways of getting in touch with the fire service. One is through telephone calls, one is through what we call running calls, and one is also through what we call station outlook. Now, if it is a telephone call, then it means you must know one of our emergency lines that you can use to reach us. We have the fire service emergency, which is 192 192. We have the national emergency line, which is 112 112. And then we have an additional line that we have provided because people have been complaining that most often when there is emergency and they try to reach us, they are unable to do so. And so if you have your pen, kindly take your pen and or your phone and save this number. The number is 0302 772 446. 0302 772 446. These are the three numbers that you can use to reach us at our National Emergency Response Center or Call Receiving Center. And in our parlance, we call it the Fire Master Control. And they are responsible for receiving calls and dispatching the appropriate emergency response team to your help. Now, if you are close by the fire station, you can do the running call either by a vehicle, either by a motor or bicycle, or you can just run into the fire station and report an emergency. If, for instance, you are far apart from the station, then you pick your telephone line and call the emergency line. Once you call and we receive, kindly hold on the line. Don't immediately the responders respond to your call. Don't hang out, because if you hang out, we are not magicians to be able to determine where the fire or the emergency has occurred. You need to answer a few questions within at most 15 seconds. Then we are done with you. For instance, we shall ask you of your name and your telephone number. We shall also ask you of the location of the incident. Most often, because of the nature of our localities, we may ask for the nearest place that is so popular in your area, so that it will guide us to get to your area quickly. So when we are asking you these questions, please don't hang out and say that we are delaying time. No, we are not delaying time. It is to help us to get to your place appropriately. Now, also notice that we use what we call radio telephone in doing our work. So immediately you report that, for instance, there is a fire at Dansoman. Then Dansoman station shall be called. Whilst they are proceeding, then the other details are being taken so that we can direct them to your station or your location. Once this is done, in the first place, even before you come out of your place, when an incident occurs and you are leaving your premises, ensure that if it is safe to do so, once you are exiting the premises, you close all windows and doors. Once you do this, it means you are limiting the entry of air, which will allow the fire to burn excessively. If it is not safe for you to do that, just kindly exit the premises and then give us a call. If there are people in your home or the office or wherever the incident had occurred, you need to alert them that there is an incident, that they all need to exit the premises. Once you have exited the premises, then you can call the fire service. And then whilst we are on our way coming, you can do what we call head count. Head count means at any given time, you know how many people are in the premises. So once you exit the premises, you do head count. And if there is anyone missing, immediately we get there, you alert us that we were maybe 8. 7 of us are present. The other one is supposed to be at this particular location. So that our priority is to save lives first before all other things. So as we deploy some to do rescue, the rest will be doing the firefighting. Once that is done, once the appliance is dispatched or the fire tender is dispatched, It depends on the location from the fire station. Most often people complain that when they got through with us, it took a very long time before we arrived. It is not our intention to arrive at any incident scene late. There are factors here. The distance between the fire station and the incident scene, that is one. The traffic situation on the road condition, as well as other impediments. Sometimes you get to a certain location and the road is blocked. It means you have to turn round and go and use other routes. So these are the reasons why it may take us some time before we get to an incident scene that has been reported to us. Again, if you don't call us, we will not know that there is an incident. The technology in our country has not gotten to a place where fire incidents are directly alerted to us at our stations. The technology we are not there yet. And so it is important and incumbent on anyone who has an emergency to be able to quickly get in touch with us so that we'll be there on time to support whoever the victim is. Some of the questions that if you call, the dispatchers will ask you is the location, and sometimes if you know the content or what is on fire. This is to help us prepare adequately before we get there. Now, like I said earlier on, we use what we call radio, telephone, and so as the fire tender is moving, we communicate with them from our center so that any additional information may be passed on to them. So if we know what exactly is on fire, then immediately we get there, we get into action. If we are unaware of what is involved in the fire, when we get there, we do a quick assessment. The quick assessment has to find out what is on fire so that we know the appropriate means of extinguishing that particular type of fire or whatever emergency it is. And so these are the things that we do. Now, if you think that you called on time and we did not get there on time, please, it is not your responsibility to attack our firefighters. Like I said, and I'm repeating, our arrival at an incident scene depends on the time in between which the incident occurred and the time that you call the fire service. Note that when a fire especially occurs, 1 minute in a fire is a huge thing. And so immediately the fire occurs, report it to us. So that is one. And the distance that we have to travel is also part of it. Now the distance have to come in here because our fire stations are far wide apart. And so, for instance, if you go to stations outside the major towns, you only have one station in the whole of a district. So depending on where the incident occurred, our officers will have to travel long distances before they arrive at the incident scene. And so we want you to understand this so that you don't attack them unnecessarily because you think, in your view, they have not arrived on time. Once they arrive at the incident scene, the officer in charge will be asking questions and to do his quick assessment of the situation. This will help them to deploy whatever extinguishing media that they need to deploy. And so you see the officer in charge quickly making a dash into the premises to assess the situation whilst the others get themselves in readiness. Once he comes, then he informs them this is what is in the incident and we need to deploy A, B, C, D to tackle the incident. And so this is how we do our work. Now, in ensuring that there is safety at the incident ground, we expect that once we start our operation, everyone who is not a firefighter will go back and give us space to work. If we need any help, we ourselves will invite you to come and assist us. Once we have not asked you to come and assist us, please stay off, because sometimes the situation is such that There could be explosion at any given time, but we are trained. And so even if there is an explosion, we have ways and means to be able to get to a safer place or take cover so that we are not hurt. In recent times, what we have observed is that people will take a clip of our officers doing firefighting. Then, if they see them drinking water, they will broadcast that the fire service is using sachet water to extinguish fire. Please, there is no way we can use sachet water to extinguish a fire. It is not a coal pot that you use sachet water to extinguish a fire. Firefighting is a serious business, and not even a bucket of water can extinguish a fire. And so let us take note of this. For those of you who intentionally broadcast false information about the fire service, we are in talks with the National Cyber Authority. And once we get you, they will fish you out. And you will be charged for publishing false information. So the public should take notice of that, so that you don't publish false information about the fire service. Now, these are your brothers. They are just like you. Don't think that a fire officer will leave the station to an emergency scene without water. We always go prepared. What is happening is that we have different fire tenders. Some with bigger capacity, some with smaller capacity. Those with smaller capacity, they don't take more than 5 minutes for the water to be exhausted. And so we, on our part, knowing our situation, because water is also a problem in this country, immediately the first tender arrives at the scene and the assessment is done. It is impressed upon the officer in charge to ask whether there is a need for assistance, or he thinks that the water in the tender can effectively deal with the situation. And so immediately, if there is the need, we dispatch either one or more fire tenders to go and support, depending on the assessment made by the officer in charge. So please take note that the fire service does not move to incident scenes without water. We move in always prepared. But like I said, our system is not too much developed such that we have adequate water for our work. When you go to elsewhere in the communities, that is in residential areas, every 100 meters we have fire hydrants that are flowing. But here, even where you have the fire hydrants, you don't have water flowing because of the peculiar nature of our system. And so we want all to understand that we as a service, we are prepared. You as an institution, you as a community, you must also help us to do our work. Once you help us, then our work will be full to your satisfaction. I have always been saying that the fire service is always at the end as an end user. So, for instance, if we need water, the water is supplied by a company. If we need road, the road is provided by the assembly. And so we are end users. Once our towns and cities are planned effectively, it will also reflect in our job, and we'll be able to do an effective job for all of us to appreciate. Once again, I want to remind all of us that firefighting is the responsibility of all of us. The fire service, we have our role to play. The individual has his role to play. Community has its role to play. And institutions and organizations also have their role to play. Now, one will ask, if you say your fire stations are far apart, why don't you establish fire stations so that they will be closer? It is not the responsibility of the fire service to provide fire stations. This responsibility is placed on the various district assemblies, whose responsibility it is to provide fire stations for the fire service to operate. Once these stations are provided, we will just send our personnel and equipment in there to support the various communities. In this wise, I will urge philanthropists, institutions, and those who have the wherewithal to come to the aid of the fire service by building fire stations for us so that we can support the communities. It is not, or we are not happy when we see people losing their whole lives, property. We will be happy. We are there on time. Save your property and save your lives as well. We are committed to performing our duties and our mandates as required by law. And I am sure you also enjoy our output to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We are just reminding you that you are still on live on Fire Service TV and across our social media handles at GNFS Official. This is the maiden broadcast of the Fire Service in Focus series. Today we are looking at management of emergency calls at our end. How do we receive the call? How do they come in? What do we do in terms of dispatching the nearest fire appliance or resources to come to your aid? So these are what we are looking at. But before we go for this commercial break, I would like to ask my boss one question that has come in. What the gentleman is seeking to know is that, is it appropriate for anyone who is in distress to call a fire service friend that there is an emergency that we have to attend to? Is it appropriate that our emergency numbers are there, our call centers are there for any individual to reach out to us directly? Is it appropriate for any other individual who is in distress to call any fire service friend to kind of ask for help in that instance? So before my boss answers this question, we'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll address many other concerns that we have received from the comment section. We would like to advise that you can still comment, send in your questions on our on the comment section or into the comment sections where we would attend to it and answer you. If you are also watching us live on our socials, kindly share with your friends and family so that they get to know that there is a new series in town known as the Fire Service in Focus. We are here for you. We want to attend to your issues and then explain the way we operate to you so that you will not attack our men should, in case, in your view, they report at emergency scenes late. So please take and stay with us whilst we go for the short break.
Friends, Epictetus once upon a time said, "It is not what that has happened that matters, but the interpretations of what that we place on what has happened that matters." A lot of things happen to us. The world is throwing a lot of things to us. The question is, how are we dealing with all that the world throws at us? Others may decide to resort to destructive tendencies. Now, there's also sometimes you need to make decisions which way to go so that we can live life to the fullest. Friends, it is as a result of these things that happen to us in the world that I invite all of us to make time with your counselor on the program, Time with the Counselor, Reverend D.O.2 Ike Ezwamiya, the Chaplain General of Ghana National Fire Service, on Fire Service TV for more insights into how to build resilience against the onslaughts of our time. Thank you.
Welcome back to Fire Service TV. You are joining us live with the maiden edition of the Fire Service in Focus series. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We would want to admonish you to check on your screens. You would see the WhatsApp number. We want you to send in your concerns, your questions, and your comments there, and we'll be glad to attend to them for you. This is the maiden edition of the Fire Service in Focus. We want you to share the link to as many people in your circles as much as possible so that they get to know what we really do. Today, we are honored to have the Director of Public Relations for the Ghana National Fire Service, ACFO1 Timothy Osafuofum, joining us to shed light on how calls are received and how emergencies are dispatched, or fire tenders or resources are dispatched to emergency scenes to help save lives and preserve property as well as safeguard the environment. We would want you to stay and stick with us whilst we move on to the questions and answer segment, where we are still encouraging you to send in your comments, your questions, and your concerns concerning how calls are placed. Many a times, the public do blame us that if there is an emergency, they call us, and we don't appear to the emergency scene on time. Is that really the case? What does the public actually do when there is an emergency? If it happens to be a fire emergency, do they try to kind of unprofessionally salvage their worst, and when it gets to worst, they then resort to calling fire service? Is it always the case that they even call fire service on time? Do they also call fire service using their right emergency numbers? Do they even know the nearest fire stations closest to them, so that in case they reach out through the contact lines, the hotlines, and even the emergency as well as the direct numbers, and they do not get to fire service, do they know the nearest station closest to them to be able to run, as it was made mention of by the Director of Public Affairs? So please, kindly indulge me whilst I read some of the comments that we have received, and then we would also have time to ask for in-depth explanation into some of the issues that were discussed. This is from Pascal, and he writes, "Good initiative." Pascal, we thank you so much for reaching out to us. It's also from Pascal, "Noble profession." We want to advise that you keep your comments coming in. Pascal also says that ensuring safer communities, that is our mantra as far as this profession is concerned. Once you are safe, once our communities are safe, we are also safe. Emmanuel Beidou is asking, please, is it appropriate to call a fire officer when there is an emergency? Is it appropriate to call a fire officer when there is an emergency? So this one, I would invite my boss to give us his opinion on this. So, sir.
Thank you very much. When there is an emergency, what is important is that the call gets to the fire service. And so, through whichever means that you can use to get to the fire service, that is fine. Under normal circumstances, you should be able to reach us through our emergency lines. But we have repeatedly been saying that people have been abusing the emergency lines. In a month, we can receive as many as 20,000 prank calls through our emergency lines. And this does not speak well for us. So it means that anytime somebody in distress needs to get in touch with the fire service, another person who is not having an emergency is abusing the line on the other end. And so the one in need cannot get through to the fire service. And so until we perfect our system, if you have any fire service friend and you cannot get through, just get in touch with the fire service friend who will call the station lines, and the emergency appliance will be dispatched to come to your aid. In this wise, let me also say that when there is an emergency, the first thing you need to do is to get to a safer place. Your second action is to call the fire service. Don't wait and say you can handle the situation, and if the situation gets out of hand before you call the fire service, when it happens this way, by the time we get there, the situation is already out of hand. And so in getting to the fire service, yes, even though it is not acceptable, once you are not able to get through our emergency lines, you can get in touch with a friend who will get also in touch with the station for us to come and help you.
Thank you very much. But it is incumbent on you, the individual, wherever you find yourself, to know the emergency number of fire service. The emergency number remains 192, and then the national emergency number also remains 112. So wherever you are in this part of the country, if there is any fire-related emergency, you can reach out as quickly as possible. The caveat here is as quickly as possible. Do not waste time. Do not wait for anybody. Stay at a safer distance and then alert everybody in the structure before you call us as quickly as possible. So this one is also coming from Emmanuel Bedu. He says, thank you, sir. Pascal also says, I love you. I love this program. We have Hamdu Abdul Razak, Joanna J, Heaven Sent in Tiamwa, Dankwa Physical, Bright Ellie, Eura Beauty, Rubin Wally, and then a host of others who are also saying that they are watching us live from their various destinations. We also have Isaac Buahin also watching us from the Hinanyini fire station. I guess he's also a fire officer. We want to use this opportunity to admonish you to share the link. If you are watching us on any of our socials, share the link to your circle of friends. Let them also share, encourage them, because this is the emergency, the maiden edition of the Fire Service in Focus. We promise to come to you with more engaging content from today. Sir, I am intrigued about this. What would you also say? What is your thought on this? Now that we have some of our fire stations a bit further away from our communities, and most often than not, when there is any fire incident, and they have to trek or travel long distances, what is the service doing to bridge this gap? I know there are a lot of programs that the service has rolled out since the beginning of the year. So in order not to even experience these fires and then to curtail these long distances, I know when you were delivering, you were talking about the need for other well-meaning individuals, landowners, and traditional authorities to come to the aid of fire service by providing lands and what have you. But what is the service also doing to be able to bridge this gap so that if there is any emergency, the travel distances are minimized and then we get to the scene on time to be able to save lives and property?
Thank you very much. Measures. And one of these measures is to get what we call quick intervention vehicles or rapid intervention vehicles. These arrivings are to be positioned in between two fire stations so as to bridge the distance between the two, so that in case there is any emergency in between, these rapid intervention vehicles will quickly move in. If we say rapid intervention vehicle, it is a smaller vehicle that is used for emergency purposes. Now, these vehicles are designed in such a way that they are fast and quicker than the normal fire tender. They also have the basic equipment on board so that they can hold the situation, and if the situation is not too big, then they will be able to deal with the situation. But the implication or the reason for bringing in these quick intervention vehicles, like the name indicates, is to quickly get to the incident scene and start tackling the situation before, if it is too big for them to handle, the fire tender itself will move in to come and support. And so one of these interventions is to bring in the quick intervention vehicles station at vantage points to help solve some of these situations. Now, one other thing that quick intervention vehicles are supposed to do is to quickly reach out to accident victims on our roads. You know, in Ghana, we record a lot of accident issues on our roads. And so what we have also noticed is that a lot of people move in when there are accidents to help. Unfortunately, in our effort to help, we rather aggravate the situation of the victims. Thereby, sometimes we destroy the spine of these people. And you know, the spine is the control mechanism of the human body. Once your spine is broken, it means you are paralyzed forever. And so we advise that if you need to help, just be careful. Don't just pull the people out of the wreckage. If it is difficult for you to do, just wait for the fire service to get there so that we can appropriately extricate these trapped victims and send them to the hospital.
Thank you so much for throwing more light on the RIV, Quick Intervention Vehicle, which will be positioned in between fire stations to be able to respond swiftly to emergencies so as to be able to reduce the response time in order to save more lives and property. Sir, a quick one. So the person has called the fire service. He or she is waiting for a quick response. Whilst waiting, what are some of the steps or what are some of the measures or things the person can do to be able to stay safe? Can you take us through those things?
Right. I indicated earlier on that if you experience a fire outbreak in your premises, as you are leaving, you close all windows and doors behind you, if it is appropriate to do so. If you are safe to close the windows and doors behind you, kindly do that so that you don't allow or introduce air to the fire to burn. Once this is done and you have gotten to a safer place, if you have fire extinguisher or any other extinguishing media and you have been trained, the word is if you have been trained to use the fire extinguisher and it is safe for you to do so, you go back and start fighting the fire. If it is not safe for you to do so, your life is more important than your property. Just wait, we will be there to come and support you. Most often, you realize people exit the premises all right. Then they will remember that, I have this precious item in my premises. They will go back to go and pick the property and they will not return. They will be consumed by the fire. And so, once you have exited, please stay out. Don't go back into the premises. If you go back into the premises, it means you have been trained and you have the necessary gadget or equipment to go back and tackle the fire. If you have not been trained, if you don't have the equipment, please don't go back into the premises. Just wait for the fire service to come. We'll be there in no time to support you.
Thank you so much, sir, for shedding more light on what to do whilst waiting for help from the Ghana National Fire Service. I would like to say once more that you are watching live the reading edition of the Fire Service in Focus series coming to you from the premises of the Fire Service TV here in Accra. This program has been tailored for you, so we will just admonish you to let your friends know about it. Those of you watching us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and all our other socials, please reach out, share the link, let it go far and wide so that the public will know what the fire service does as far as management of emergency calls are concerned. Today, with me to do the discussion and who have been so instrumental in helping us digest the topic, management of emergency call, has been the Director of Public Relations of the Ghana National Fire Service, the person of ACF1, Timothy Safu. He has actually thrown more light as to how calls are received, how the dispatch is done, and a few questions dispatchers will ask the caller. So there's a need for every caller to have a bit of patience whilst we solicit or elicit such questions to be able to deploy the appropriate resources to such emergencies. We know that today you've also learned that if you don't call fire service on their rightful emergency numbers, it becomes very difficult for the response to come as quickly as possible. So once you are in the known of this, we believe that you are going to get hold of the fire emergency numbers, which is the 192, the 112. Please share it wide and far with your family and friends. Teach your kids, teach your friends, even your enemies, those who are even not in talking terms with you. I mean, share it to them. Let them know that in case of fire, in case of road crash, in case of flooding, in case of bee invasion, in case of a tree even falling and blocking the road and what have you, you could call the fire service so that we can come to your aid. Let's go through quickly the messages that we have received. We have a number of people watching us. Isaiah Osei Kakari, Mace Nanaya Asare, Mary Bediako, Alexander Kito, Theophilus Akwesi Abredu, Nana Frimpon Samuel, Alhaji Musa Nyamedi. They all say they are watching us live from on Facebook. That is it. We are proud of you. Keep sharing the program. Let it go wide and far. Let the people understand that this is a program that has been tailored for you. So, sir, your last comments before we wrap up. What do you have to tell Ghanaians as far as emergency call, dispatch, and what have you is concerned?
My comment to the general public is that please disabuse your minds of those who spread false information, especially those who say that we arrive at incident scenes, especially fire scenes, without water. Nobody in his right senses. If you sitting and watching, I don't think if we should give you a fire tender today, you move into an incident scene before you realize that you don't have water. No, it doesn't happen that way, because we are also trained professionally. Even if you, who is not trained, if we ask you that, will you move a fire tender to an incident scene without water, and you say no, how come that the firefighter who is properly trained will move into an incident scene without water? And so you should disabuse your minds of that. Like I indicated earlier, we have some appliances whose capacity is very limited. And so within 5 minutes, the water is exhausted. And if they don't have any support, then they will have to move from the incident scene to the nearest fire hydrant to go and replenish and come back. It is this that when we do, people see and say that we came to the incident scene without water. I'll urge all Ghanaians that if you have any emergency that is related to our work as an institution, fire service, quickly call us on our emergency line 192 112 or 0302 772 446, and we'll be there to help you.
Thank you so much, ACFO1 Timothy Osafo Afum. I believe you bear with me that today's discussion has been very fruitful. There are so many takeaways that you are going home with. For me, I have learned that not until anybody calls the fire service, not until anybody runs to the nearest fire station, not until anybody alerts fire service of an emergency, it is going to be very difficult per the current operations of the service to be able to respond swiftly to available emergency. So therefore, we need to call. We need to know the emergency numbers of the fire service. We need to know the closest fire stations to wherever we live, so as when we call and the call or it is not going through, it becomes very easy for us to reach out to the nearest fire station by driving through, by walking through, and all that, to be able to alert the fire officers of that emergency. And then also, I have learned that when you call, if there is any emergency and then you call, you need to exercise a bit of restraint. Those things, those questions that are handlers, dispatch or call handlers would ask you, takes less than 20 seconds. If they ask you of your name, if they ask you of your location, to be specific, you go and then straight to give us the right landmarks or the correct landmarks, that is the popular joint and spots closest to where you live, so that it becomes a key identification point, so that assuming they are on their way and they are finding it very difficult to locate the emergency scene, they will use that particular landmark to reach out to you. If you can also give them your GPS address, that also becomes easier for them to locate wherever you live. So please, when you call, take your time, give us your name, give us your telephone number, because sometimes when you call us and our men are on their way, they find it very difficult to locate. So once your telephone number is with them, they will be able to call you and then ask for proper direction. So it is incumbent on you to give us your telephone or your contact number as well as giving us the landmark closest to wherever the emergency is happening. I also learned that prank calls is actually disturbing the Ghana National Fire Service. In a month, the service is able to record over 20,000 prank calls, which is not good for our image. It also hinders on our response time. Assuming you are calling, you are very in need of the services of fire service, and you are calling, and the call is not getting through, and what kind of situation are you putting yourself in? So the lines or the telephone operate just as the way your mobile phones operate. If you are on the call and you have activated call waiting, not until you are done with your present call, it becomes very difficult for the next person to get through. So as people abuse our emergency line, it causes a lot of traffic on the line, and therefore it does not augur well for our response. That is why a lot of the times people complain that we are delaying. It is not us. So please, we are advising that you stop pranking the service, you stop playing with the emergency line. You only have to call when there is a real emergency, when you really need our help in terms of fire, in terms of road accident, in terms of bees attack, in terms of flooding, in terms of somebody falling into a well or a deep trench, in terms of somebody trying to end his or her life by climbing a tree or a pylon or a telephone mast. These are our work, and do not hesitate to call us. One thing that I'm also taking away is that in between the time the incident happened or the incident was discovered and the time the discoverer places the call to fire service or reaches out to fire service, that gap has to be bridged. So as soon as you see the emergency or you need the help of fire service, just call or just drive to the nearest fire station to alert them that this is what is happening and therefore we will need your help. And that would ensure that the response is swift, the response is prompt, so that more lives and properties could be saved. When that is not done, that is where a lot of people tend to blame us and accuse us wrongly that we have been calling fire service, but they are not coming. Let's ask ourselves, assuming the emergency started at 3 p.m. and then you called us at 4 p.m., what is the time lapse in between? 1 whole hour. And by that time, the fire wouldn't be waiting. The fire, by the time the men gets to the scene, the fire would have done a lot of harm to us. So we are pleading that as soon as you see the emergency, particularly if it is fire, like explained by my boss, 1 minute in any fire situation can create or cause a lot of devastation. We don't want your property to get burned. We don't want you to lose your life. We don't want the emergency to affect your life in such a way that you cannot get back to business. That is why we are advising that just call as soon as the emergency is spotted or discovered, so that we can also initiate the response, get to the scene as soon as possible. And then also, my other takeaway is that our fire stations, some of the districts are doing so much by covering wider areas. So we are appealing to the assemblies, we are appealing to the traditional authorities. They are the landowners. If you don't release the lands to the assemblies, how can they build fire stations for us? And now, this cliche that every time we are talking about our security at the expense of our safety, I mean, this is about the time that we also took our safety very seriously. In as much as we want to provide lands for other purposes, for our other sister security services, it is about time we also provided large tracts of land for the establishment of modern fire stations. Please, if the fire stations are closer to us, it reduces our response time. That is very key. If they are far apart, it means that we have to travel a certain distance. And by which time, if it is a fire emergency, it will not be waiting. Assuming someone has fallen into a deep trench. If it takes us 30 minutes, it means the person's life will be in serious, probably the person may end up losing his life. We don't want to lose, we don't want to continue to lose lives. We don't want to continue to lose our property. We don't want to continue to lose our businesses to some of these hellish fires. That is why we are urging all Ghanaians, those of you watching us live on the Fire Service TV, watching us live on our socials, that the Fire Service in Focus series has come so that we can engage, we can meet, we can express our views and our concerns, send in our questions so that we can meaningfully engage, so that you understand us, so as to be able to also provide the Ghana National Fire Service with the needed support and resources to be able to deliver on our mandates. So on this note, we would want to thank you so much for being part of this maiden edition. Indeed, this program has been tailored for you. It is because of you that we are having this important program. We have you in mind. Indeed, it is being driven by you. So please, we want you to always stay put to your screens, Fire Service TV, and on our social media handles at GNFS Official, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on X, as well as on Facebook. The handle name is at GNFS Official. So please do well to follow us and send in your comments, your questions, even after this live broadcast, and we'll be glad to respond to you. Before I take the final word from our resource person today, in the person of ACFO 1, Timothy Osafo-Afum, I would like to read a few of your comments that you have sent to us. We've always said that this program is made with you in mind. We have Mensa Emmanuel, service with compassion. Nice one. Indeed, Fire Service is the only service that renders its services through compassion. Daniel Bule is also saying, we are watching you from Kolegono. Thank you, Daniel, for being part of today's program. We have Kwame A. Tanga. He says that kudos to you, sirs, insightful program. We thank you for sending such a message. Osman Mary, please, I will use this opportunity to ask if Fire Service forms is out. Well, Osman Mary, we are sorry to disappoint you that Fire Service at this particular moment in time is not offering or embarking on any recruitment. We've always said that we would communicate that through the normal channels that we used in broadcasting our recruitment. That is the dailies, Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times. So please keep watch on that. Kweku Abankwa Jr. He says, keep up the good work. Thank you, Kweku. Otu Abraham, good job. Thank you for reaching out to us. And then Kobina Edu, I am watching you from USA on Facebook. Great job. Thank you for being part of this maiden edition. That is Yahuza Bada Green. This is going to help the country a lot, watching from Tema. Thank you for being part of this program. So we will now take the last word from the Director of Public Relations, Ghana National Fire Service, as we bring the program to a close. So, sir, your last word.
I would like to assure the general public that we have one of the best trained firefighters in the whole wide world. What is remaining is for you, the general public, to support us, and also for the appropriate authorities to give us what we need to do our job. We are dedicated to serve you as the general public in any life-threatening situation. Therefore, if there is any life involved in any situation, do not hesitate, but to quickly reach us on our emergency lines. And I repeat the emergency lines. Fire Service Emergency 192, 192, National Emergency 112, 112, or our landline 0302 772 446, 0302 772 446, and we'll be there to help you. I would like to repeat that we do not and we will not attend to any incidents without water. Wherever you see our fire tenders, even if you come to our stations where a fire tender is broken down, it is filled with water, because we don't know when we will short of water, and therefore whatever it takes for us to store water, we do that, and we do not attend to incident scenes without water. And I would like to assure you once again that we have one of the best dedicated firefighters, and we are there to support every life in this country. Thank you, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you, ACFO Timothy Osafuafo. Rounding up, I would like to say that we want to thank you so much for being part of this milestone. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to come into your hearts and minds this afternoon. We hope that the interactions has been fruitful, and we believe that going forward, as you have heard us, you would even play back this live program so as to be able to really understand when it comes to how we receive calls and then dispatch our men and other resources to your aid. We hope that you will join us the next time round, next week, Monday, 2 p.m. sharp, for another insightful edition. Thank you so much. Keep sharing the Facebook and then other social, the live link. Share it with your friends and family. Let them understand that there is a new series on your screens, that is the Fire Service TV, as well as on our socials, tailored to help you understand the modus operandi of the Ghana National Fire Service. Thank you for joining us, and have a very good afternoon. See you.